Hi guys, so it's officially been 1 month since the Witcher Netflix show came out, which is crazy because it feels like it came out forever ago. But I wanted on this little 1 month anniversary to do a Witcher Q&A, so I asked all of you over on my Instagram if you had any questions. Just a heads up, some of these questions are probably going to get into spoilers, so if you haven't watched the show and you don't want to be ruined for anything, then probably don't watch. The first question says, I've never played the games, can I still read the books? Yes, absolutely. The books came first. The games are a what-if scenario, and the events take place after the events of the books. So actually, if you want to do things in chronological order, you should read the books before the video game. That said, the video game is great, and I actually started with it, and I love it. Next question is, what was the wish Geralt made to Yen? And this is in reference to the djinn. It's actually never made clear to us what Geralt's wish is, and that is intentionally left open by the author. He does that a lot in the books. He will leave things open or unanswered and let you decide. The next question is if the timeline is more linear in the books. Not really. So it is once you start the official series with Blood of Elves, but the collections of short stories, no. And that's what the first season is based off of. The collections of short stories, Sword of Destiny, is fairly linear, but The Last Wish is not. It actually goes back and forth between present day and the past, and the events in the past are not in chronological order with the other events in the past. The next question is, why do you think they made different timelines for season 1? It was confusing at first. And honestly, I think there was absolutely no way around having a confusing timeline in the show if they were going to try to stay somewhat true to the books because of like what I said before. But there were ways they could have made it a little less confusing. They did not have to explore Yennefer's backstory in the first season. That's actually one of my personal, I wouldn't say issues, but I wish they would have left Yennefer mysterious and then explored her backstory later. The next question is just asking me what my favorite monster was and why. If we're referring to in the show, definitely the Striga. I think that's how they pronounce it in the show. That was honestly my favorite part about the entire show, was that fight. A couple of people asked about the Law of Surprise. One specific says, are there any limitations to it, and does it work for anyone? And as far as I know, yes, if you save someone, you can then use the Law of Surprise. And somebody asked like literally how it works, and you just kind of say, whatever is waiting for you at home that you aren't expecting will be mine. And it's not usually a child. Usually it's something like a horse had a baby, and so you get this horse. The next question is about the reading order for the books. I do have an entire video for the reading order, so I'll have that linked down below, but just really quick to let you know, it goes Last Wish, Sword of Destiny, Blood of Elves, Time of Contempt, Baptism of Fire, Tower of the Swallow, Lady of the Lake, and Season of Storms is kind of like a side-cool prequel. The next question says, why so much sex? I don't know. I mean, there's some sexual content in the books. The next one is, what did you think of the actress who played Yennefer? I thought she did great. I personally did not like the way they had Yennefer in the show, meaning I don't feel like her character in the show is the same as her character in the books or the video game. But I thought she acted well. This next person managed to cram in a lot of questions in one thing. It says, was the show what you expected? And as compared to the game, what about Triss's casting and the CGI? So, was it what I was expecting? No, I thought it was going to be glorious, and I didn't think it was glorious. Compared to the game is the best, in my opinion, of the three. The Triss casting, I don't care. I feel like the actress did just fine. Triss in the books is not that important, and she's not actually even in the first two books, the collections of short stories, so they actually put her in where she isn't, which was fine. I thought the introduction of her was fine. That was actually a change that I was totally for. I thought it made a lot of sense. But yeah, I feel like the game changes her character tremendously in a way that makes her more likable, and if you've played the game, you like Triss, and then you watch the show and it's not what you're expecting, but I'm like, well, CD Projekt Red changed her too. As for the CGI, okay, so CGI was a big topic for a lot of reviews, and for me, I feel kind of bad saying this, but if your CGI isn't going to be top-notch, don't do it. That's kind of how I feel about it. About all the special effects, to be honest. The Striga episode, for me, the reason that fight was so amazing, the choreography, everything about the setting, it had this horror element, which I thought was fantastic and it looked good. I thought it looked amazing. Most of the rest of the show did not, in my opinion. And I just wished, I said from the beginning, as soon as I found out they were making an adaptation, I thought, let's make it animated, because I don't know anything about cost. Maybe it would have been so much more money. But if you look at the trailers that CD Projekt Red put out for The Witcher 3, they're so good. I'll link them. You've probably seen them. But if you haven't, do yourself a favor. And if you have seen them, just watch them again, because they're so good. I wanted an entire show like that. And then we wouldn't have this whole point of, was the CGI good, except for the budget. It's only the first season, it'll get better. What about compared to Game of Thrones? We wouldn't be talking about any of that. Sorry, I get really worked up. I just wish people would embrace animated. Sorry, that was way too worked up for a very simple question. The next question is, could that season have been any better for a first crack? So amazing. I'm really glad that you liked the show. I don't want anybody to feel like they shouldn't like it. If you liked it, good. I'm so glad that you enjoyed it. I didn't. The next question says, what are your opinions of the directors cutting a lot of the moral philosophy elements for action? I think there is a lot of talking in the books. There's a lot of characters just sitting down and having conversations with each other. And they definitely did take a lot of that out. Geralt actually, once you get him talking in the books, he talks a lot. And he's very clever and witty. And I don't feel like they really showed us that, which was okay. But I do think that is one of the things that makes Witcher Witcher. And yeah, they only had so much time. It's probably not as exciting for viewers. So I guess I'm neutral. The next question is Geralt the only Witcher alive? Nope, there are definitely other Witchers. The next question is, do you recommend starting with the show, game, or books? Kind of sort of touched on this earlier, but if you want to go in chronological order, you should start with the books. But in my opinion, The Wild Hunt is the best. The next person asked if I personally like Henry Cavill as Geralt. I thought he did great. I thought all the actors acted well. I just didn't always feel like the way in which the characters were written for the actors was what I was expecting. But Henry Cavill, I thought he did a fantastic job bringing Geralt to life. The next question says, curious to read the Witcher series. Are Ciri and Yennefer's backstories included in the books? Yennefer's is touched on. It is not elaborated on. You only find out a little bit about it, and not until way later in the series. And then with Ciri, you kind of do. It's you see her before she's even born. There is events, and then you kind of see her as a child, and then you see her growing up. So in a way, yes, but no. The next question is, how old is Geralt? Geralt, I believe, is in his 80s, and Yennefer, not that you asked, but Yennefer is actually older than Geralt. I believe that it's never solidified, but she's 90s, maybe even over 100. The next question says, do you think Sapkowski and CD Projekt Red coming to terms recently means Witcher 4? I sure hope so, because oh my gosh, that would be amazing. The next person asks if I feel if the show took away or added to the books. I still think of them as two separate things in my brain, and I thought the books were better. This next question, I actually am surprised more people didn't ask about this. It says, what are those little vials potion Geralt takes before fights? And he, as a Witcher, he has gone through mutations, and he has the ability to take in these potions. They are able to enhance him in some fashion, and a lot of times he takes specific ones to deal with specific monsters, depending on what their strengths are. The next question says, if there was one more episode to cap off the season, how would you have it end? Personally, when I heard they were going to do 8 episodes, I thought initially that was a good idea, because sometimes shows can hit a middle that's kind of slow, or they have to weirdly present a new antagonist sort of thing. So I was on board, and I watched the show, and some things were really skimmed and other things were elaborated on. So I don't know. I would have done a lot of things different. That sounds so pretentious. I don't know what I'm doing. I wouldn't have done a better job. I just didn't love the way they did everything. I don't think one additional episode would have changed things. The next question says, what do you think about casting changes? I think they meant the way they look, dryads. I don't care. I'm neutral. I'm not advocating for these changes, nor am I really bothered by them. It's actually really funny. I have been called both racist and an SJW, so I'm not sorry that I don't care about a TV show that much. If you care, great. I don't. The next person asked for me to rate the cast, and I am not going to go through and rate every single one, but I gotta say, the person that surprised me the most that I was very pleased with was Jaskier Dandelion. I felt that I wasn't expecting to love him so much, and I did. It was really good. Next question is about the signs that Geralt uses, which basically allow him to do some forms of magic, and why he's not actually doing signs when he does it. I don't know. I didn't make that call. The last question says, have you seen Lauren's recent comments about altering Geralt and Ciri's first interaction? I have. I've seen her talk about the ending and this very thing as well. And I really appreciate that she's willing to take the time to elaborate on so many things, answer so many fan questions. She doesn't shy away from answering some of the difficult questions, which I really admire considering that the poor woman has gotten death threats over this, which is ridiculous. But I just don't agree necessarily with the direct. I said it before, I don't necessarily agree with the way they've chosen to go about certain events, certain characters, but I do appreciate that she's taking the time to answer and let people know her thoughts on things. Anyway, that is it for this Witcher Q&A. Thanks to everybody who submitted their questions. I hope this was helpful or entertaining at least. But anyway, thanks so much for watching. If you have any more Witcher questions or you want just more Witcher content, I'll link my Witcher playlist. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.